Hello folks, Bill Vales here. This month we are going to talk about the user interfaces of some of the products we use. First off, we need to define what the user interface is. The user interface is a broad category of features and functions we use when we interact with our devices. User interfaces range from the layout of the screen, the design of the icons, the responsiveness of the system, to the physical buttons on the devices, to how we issue the commands, for example, using mouse clicks, a touch screen, or voice commands. And of course, how the system responds to our actions is a large part of the user interface. User interfaces are a key part of many of the devices we use every day. For example, computers, printers, fax machines, cell phones, appliances, automobiles, TVs, cameras, alarm system, watches, radios, and even children toys all have a user interface we need to interact with. Manufacturers spend a lot of time, money, and effort to develop user interfaces. A well-designed user interface can make the difference between a product being a success and a product being a flop. I am sure we have all experienced products that are easy to use and those that are difficult to use. Let's consider the user interfaces of some of the computer devices we use. The graphical user interface, or GUI, is the interface that allows us, the user, to interact with our devices or applications by clicking and pointing at various visual icons using our mouse or touch screens. Some of these devices also allow voice commands. There may also be some physical aspects to the GUI that require buttons to be pressed or tablets to be swiped using various hand gestures. A key part of the user interface is the feedback the system provides to our commands. Does the system perform the function quickly? Does the system respond in a sensible way if we make an error? Does the system provide feedback if it needs time to process our commands? Consider how we interact with a Windows 7, 8, or Windows 10 system, or how we interact with an Apple system, an iPad, or a smartphone. We have the desktop layout, which consists of various icons. When we want to initiate an action, we click on one of the icons. The success of the interface is largely based on how intuitive it is for the user to use. There are several elements that make for a good user interface. Think about each of these the next time you use your computer system, your cell phone, TV, automobile, camera, or other device. One of the first items is a user interface must be clear. The interface of the system must be easy to use. If it is difficult to use, people will get frustrated and will eventually stop using your system. Number two, a user interface must be concise. A clear interface is a goal, but developers sometimes attempt to clarify concepts with too many explanations. This requires too much reading for the user. If you can explain something in one sentence rather than two, do it. One word instead of two, do it. Concise means less is more. Number three, a user interface must be familiar. The interface should be naturally and intuitively understood. The user should know what to expect at each step. If you are upgrading from one version of a system to another, are you in familiar territory? Number four, a user interface must be responsive. The system should be fast. The system should provide feedback when it is performing a function. The user should not be left wondering or guessing what is happening. Number five, a user interface must be consistent. Similar operations should be performed in a consistent manner. Number six, A user interface must be attractive. This is somewhat subjective, but the interface should be satisfying to the user using it. It should be fun, easy, and enjoyable to use. Number 7, a user interface must be efficient. Developers need to implement an interface that allows the user to achieve their goals in the easiest way possible. Do not simply implement access to a list of features. And number 8, a user interface must be forgiving. No user is perfect. When a user makes a mistake, allow them to easily correct it. Make sure your messages are clear and easy to understand. Many of us lament the loss of familiar interfaces. We don't like change. We get very used to working a particular way, and when a manufacturer comes out with a new system, we often find it difficult to use. How many times have you heard or said to yourself, "Why did they have to change that? It was working fine the way it was." The next time you use your systems, consider the user interfaces and the various factors we have discussed. For example, when you upgrade from one Windows version to the next, such as from Windows 7 or Windows 8 to Windows 10, are the interfaces consistent and intuitive to use? If you are upgrading from Microsoft Office 2010 to Microsoft Office 2013 or 2016, do you have to relearn functions you already know? When you use your Mac, is it similar to your iPad? Is your iPad interface similar to your iPhone interface? When you get a new iPhone, do you need to relearn a lot of functions you have already used for years? Is setting up your home alarm system or new smart TV easy to do? Manufacturers and developers have a challenging job developing new interfaces to support new devices and new functionality, yet maintaining consistency with older systems. It may be a tough job, but this is their job. Sometimes they get the new interfaces right, and sometimes they get it wrong. Do not assume when you get a new system that the problems you are experiencing are your fault. In future Tech Talks, we will consider the attributes of user interface design with some of the popular tools many of us use. We will also consider my opinion around if the manufacturer got it right. That's it for this Tech Talk. Practice, practice, practice. We'll see you next month.